So, can you guys hear me? We're just gonna talk briefly about this project. This is part of Better Naito. So obviously a lot of improvements to add this lovely cycle track, to add a lot of signal improvements. This project was completed in May of 2022 and incorporates 10 biopod units along Naito Parkway. So, feel free to come over as you get a chance to not block, obviously, the bike path, but to come over and see. So water's coming, obviously, right off the roadway into the unit. This unit has 2 inches of mulch, 18 inches of media, and then 6 inches of drain rock with an under drain. And you can see he's standing right on the overflow catch basin there. So it's got basically 6 inches of driving head, and then overflows will go into the downstream catch basin there. So that's where the under drain routes as well. Let's see, so each of these units, we've got a combination of some 4x4 units, 4x6 and 4x8 units. A unit like this can treat about 0.4 acres of impervious surface. So typically about 10 times smaller than a typical Portland planter that you size with the pack. So, it allows, in this case, this system is approved without plants, but it also can be planted. So in this case, they chose to use hatches. This one is also designed, because it's on Naito Parkway, with a top slab that's 10 inches thick and HS20 rated hatches, so that literally the whole thing could be driven over. This gets a lot of traffic with the festivals and awesome things that happen in this park, so it was designed to be completely driven over. So in terms of maintenance, the focus is the mulch on these. So the 2 inches of mulch is a non-proprietary shredded mulch, and that's really the key to maintenance. So depending on the loading, obviously a lot of loading on a busy arterial like this. So typically these need to be maintained every 6 months to a year. And so checking that mulch layer, removing that top 2 inches, and then looking at the media and seeing, do I need to scrape off a few inches of media and replace that as well? But typically the media will last 10 to 15 years before it requires full removal. So, Henry, you want to comment more on the system?
Hi, I'm Henry Stevens. I'm with the City of Portland, and I work with a crew that reviews these kinds of devices to approve them for general use in Portland. And I think we tried to be quite open to different kinds of devices like this, there's been a lot of change in the industry, a lot of R&D done on these kinds of units. I wonder how many people have actually worked on or around this, some kind of a storm filter unit? Wow, that's a lot more than that's a lot more than I thought, because they generally aren't very sexy. I'm really glad this is on the route because it's an important tool in our toolkit. We have, as you learned, I think yesterday, we have about 2,600 plus green streets, and we have about 80 installations of what we call manufactured stormwater treatment systems, MSTTs. If you look at our stormwater management manual, that covers a bunch of different devices. Most of them are granular filters. This is loose media, of course, but then there are other canister systems. Context storm filters are very common in Portland. We've even reviewed some newer membrane systems. We haven't used them much. But again, it's great to have this on the tour because we use them. I was gonna say we have usually much larger systems. We don't like to use small systems like this. Nothing to do with Old Castle and its product. It's just that we figure small systems like this are much more vulnerable. So we have 80 installations of what we call these MSTTs. Usually we try to aggregate runoff from multiple catch basins, and so some of them are huge. You find them under places like Columbia Boulevard, for instance, where same thing, it's a highly trafficked corridor with a sense of water body nearby, and there's just not room for anything else. So we're really happy to have these new Old Castle biopods here. I'm going to be monitoring, they're brand new, I'm going to be monitoring them this winter. No fancy sensor systems like we heard about yesterday. I happen to work about 4 blocks away, so I can walk over, pop the lid, and actually document the depth of sediment that's accumulated and get a rough sense of how how much they're filling up. And of course, Oldcastle has standards. If you're out there looking at them, the depth of sediment at which you go, oh, we need to send out our crews to look at them. So it's also great to acknowledge that, again, Portland has tried to be open to new technologies. We have about 7 different, well, really 5 different technologies we've approved for the use of for the city of Portland. And they all have different requirements. They aren't interchangeable. You know, some of them have different head requirements, but there's a common theme here. There's been a big drive in the industry to make them more compact for obvious reasons, so you can fit them into small places. And I think Portland, and Elle, where are you, Elle? She's somewhere here, but anyway, Clean Water Services has gone a different route because of the questions about efficiencies for maintaining these units. We have, I think, over 90% of our underground MSTT facilities are contact facilities, and that's largely because of maintenance efficiencies, right? If you have 10 different brands out there and they all have different maintenance requirements, it gets difficult for maintenance. And so, Clean Water Services has gone a different route. My understanding is they don't allow new, different technologies. They're just contact, and I want to honor that. It makes some sense. For us, we've opened up the door to a bunch of different technologies. We hope this is the newest, best thing, and that it's easy to maintain. But just to acknowledge that the industry has come up, it's fiercely competitive between the different companies that make these devices, and with all the interest in the world to come up with a new, smaller device. And so I think things are changing, but it really lands on local jurisdictions to figure out which ones work best for them. And so you can imagine we have a whole bunch of these systems here, and you can bet they're going to clog at different times. They're going to get different sediment loads. Again, I'm going to be monitoring. That's just the nature of the beast, right? That would be true for Green Streets as well. We're going to be trying to make sense of it to figure out whether this new device is actually something that the city of Portland wants to do a lot more of. So, I don't know, any questions? Yeah.
What do you have to do to maintain it, and how much stuff did you have to pull out before we came?
You said, what do you have to do to maintain it? And how much stuff you push and stuff to maintain it?
Yeah, the question was like, what did maintenance look like, and how much sediment was in this when it was maintained? Correct?
And
Yes.
when was it maintained?
Yeah. So this particular unit was maintained like a week ago. So it was maintained very recently. And there was these units had not been maintained since they were installed. They did receive a lot of very oil-laden runoff when they put the asphalt down on the street. So it received all of that runoff. It was accumulating probably 4 inches of sediment on top of the mulch. So removing that sediment and the mulch layer was what was done on this particular unit, and then fresh mulch was applied. So like Henry said, these units have to be maintained. I mean, if they're doing a good job, they should be collecting a lot of sediment and debris, right? That's not getting into our water bodies. So yeah, I mean, I think it showed that it was doing its job. But I think the true test will then be this water year, as we're not doing construction, so it's not receiving the construction runoff. It's receiving typical, stormwater runoff from a developed site, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so maintenance interval is everything, and I forgot to say, and I think this is true for all jurisdictions we've ever talked to, once a year is the maximum we can do it. And that'll be a real standard for this. If this thing, clogs in November after cleaning it in the summer, that's trouble for us. So we're looking for a 1-year interval, and again, as these units have gotten smaller and smaller, that's the big question mark for local jurisdictions. I haven't found any jurisdictions that are willing to maintain these kinds of systems more than once a year.